Hello there, here we are again, SKALD TV, Mythodea Insider tonight. This is Lester, I'm Markus, and we are going to talk tonight about, what was it again that we were going to talk about?
We're talking about plot design and how we're going to design the plot in the future. What we won't be doing is talking about the specific plot. We're not talking about what's going to happen, but sort of how we tell stories and how they're designed. It's more what we're talking about.
All right, and basically this is like a rerun of last week's show, or 2 weeks ago actually it was, I think.
Yeah, but this time you're LARPing as Ruth and
Julian. I'm LARPing Ruth and Julian at the same time. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hope the viewership out there are getting those vibes.
And I forced you into the stream at knife point. I have to admit.
The knife was actually real, and I don't know if you can still see the minor cut. Markus is very precise with knife. I've seen him work wonders. Now I don't know what I'm talking about. But we'll also have the same guests as last time. Hagen Grützmacher. He's an author. He's written some Mythodea books as well. We'll talk to him about how he designs stories and also about his books in general. And we'll also talk to Sina, who plays a lot of main characters, main NPCs in the past in Mythodea, and how plot briefing used to work for her, and what were her experiences, what were some problems, what were some of her best moments.
Yeah. So basically it's a rerun of the show 2 weeks ago, only that the show at that point was in German.
Yeah.
And today we try to give our best to translate it as good as we can, the meaning into English. What was it? What is that thing about the unreliable narrator? What is this that you were talking a lot about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, so last week we discussed a lot on the topic of the unreliable narrator. It's a form of narration which is very popular, also used in the Romantic period. A lot of stories are structured that way. So the information is only as reliable as the narrator himself. So in specific cases, if you have an undead telling you a story about the undead, well then it's going to be heavily related to undead propaganda, and all of a sudden you're going to start to think, oh, maybe the undead are the good guys, but obviously they're the bad guys. So you always have to judge the information by who's telling you the information. Similarly, if you ask the English, when they colonized Africa, on their part of the story, it will be a little bit different than if you ask the Africans who got colonized. I think there will be some discrepancies in history and different viewpoints on the same the same story. So you always have to judge your information by who's telling it. That's sort of what the unreliable narrator does, and well, we find it in reality as well, and that's some of the key points. Why is it important to us? Well, when it comes to our stories, there is no hidden truth. There is no definite truth. There are a lot of puzzle pieces that come together to form a picture. And we want our Mythodea academics and scholars to find these puzzle pieces, and we want them to figure out their own viewpoint on the world, their own opinion, and then they can talk to each other about it, and they can have debates like in real life. I mean, a real scholar, he finds different sorts of sources, and he compares them, and he comes up with an opinion, and that opinion is sometimes a little bit different than another scholar who has the exact same information, and that's kind of what scholar play entails. So yeah.
So what is there to argue about if everything is clear anyway? So
of course, Mythodea is always really clear and super easy to understand. Everyone knows this. It's part of our brand. No, Mythodea is super complex. There is so much hidden information. but we, when we write plot, want to always have this information come to the surface, and we want people to find it, and we want people to figure out their own opinion on it. What we don't want to do is tell people, this is the one way it has to be. This is the definitive explanation of the world. No, people can fight about it in-game. They can have debates or whack each other with clubs. Both valid tools of LARP discussion.
Yeah. By the way, there's Alyssa from the Boston area in Massachusetts in the stream. Hello, Alyssa. We had her on last Saturday, I think. Hello. Greetings to the other side of the ocean. Yeah. Yeah. So that is that. And what has that to do? What actually happens at the convention? What has that to do with the unrelatable narrator? So if something happens at an event, how does that translate into it?
Well, there's many ways we can go now, but one of the things that we want at conventions is that the main part of the story we tell at conventions. Yes, okay, right now we have no conventions due to this Corona thing, but generally, if you want to find plot, if you want to find background, most of it will be found at conventions, campaign cons as well. But the main parts of the story will always be found at cons. Some background fluff and information can be found in a little internet text, maybe an online text adventure, who knows. But these plot pieces can be put together to try to understand the world and then play with it. And if enough people then start playing with this view on the world, well then maybe more puzzle pieces will emerge for this view or for another view. But we of course always want to tell stories that branch in many different ways so that many views can be valid and okay. I mean, it's the same thing in, when you believe in religion, that, many ways lead to heaven, it seems. I don't believe in God, so I don't know. What can this also mean? It can also mean that the unreliable narrator, if we talk about tools like this, there's another similar fact in real life. For instance, we take history as a given. We think, all right, okay, so everything is as is in the history books. But then again, you find new info that emerges in Egypt, and all of a sudden our history as we know it changes. That can happen in real life, and that can also happen in a role-playing game. So below the thing that you thought was the truth, there is actually an underlying truth, Who knows what that is? And
it's always a big mix of different propaganda styles as well, because everybody tried to imprint their view of things and their spin on things onto each other, and what stays over time, you never know whose truth it was.
I have a perfect example for this in Mythodea. Simon Faber just wrote a text for Facebook. It's a great text. It's very rebellious and dark and possibly even evil, who knows. From the Blood Pact, and it's about a bunch of people meeting in a cave system and talking about the continent and the world theory as is. And these masked people say to each other, well, what if there's more out there except for the continent Mitraspera? What if there is something behind the spheres of fog? Maybe there is more. Maybe we've only been told that there is nothing once they fall, or if the continent itself dies. Maybe it's all a lie, and that's just one theory, and each theory has its relevance and should be played with.
Yeah, that's exactly true. I was distracted. I read the
He's
chat
playing
again.
Candy Crush.
Yeah. So I'm too old for this.
Are you at least winning?
No, it's yeah, whatever. All right.
Give that to me.
So basically, one of our major design principles about how we create our events is always about designing the story in a way that it offers the most interactions for play. Yeah, so to give opportunities to get play going and interact with other players and have good scenes and good interactions. How does that cater to that unrelatable narrator perspective?
Unreliable. Unrelatable would be hilarious. I don't like this guy. No, okay. So how does that work?
I'm sorry.
No worries. So before in Mythodea, I mean, there were many ways to play. You could go there to fight. You could go there to have the sausage and have some drinks. You know, that all that was okay, but there was also plot. But to follow the plot, you had to be in. You had to be a key player. You had to be there for a while. You need to know the right people, and your character has to be very, very much involved. We want to keep that, of course, but we also want that this plot is available for people who are new. And if you say, well, my character believes in elven gods and the wood spirits, then that's also okay. And you can still try to engage with the plot. And if you want to explain the world for this character, you can also explain it with elven gods and wood spirits. It's just another viewpoint, and it's valid, because we are not going to force people to play our background. If you want to play your own, it's okay.
Yeah, but you will also have to live with the fact that people that actually come from Mythodea will tell you, yeah, this doesn't work. And
you know what that is? That's gameplay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just discussing the world.
This is perfect gameplay. Exactly.
Yeah.
It creates a lot of opportunities again to interact with each other and create emotional scenes. Yeah.
Not only that, but you can have philosophical discussions, and what we don't want to do is tell you the secret truth, the meaning of life, because in our world no one knows it. Okay, Markus does, but don't tell anyone. But generally, you don't have that secret truth in game, and that one thing that no one knows, and we'll never define that, because that will restrict everything, because then everybody has to live by that law. Everybody has to abide by this basic principle. Instead, it's all belief, and everyone can make up their own little theory. Some may be closer to the truth than others, and we will definitely have breadcrumbs towards that possible truth, but it will never be defined. Otherwise, it will just restrict play, and we don't want to do that.
Yeah, but because that would defeat the purpose for us, because we run these events in order to create as many opportunities for players to have play and to have interactions as possible.
Yeah. Okay, but because a lot of people sometimes worry, does that mean that the Mythodea view on the world with the elements and the Quihen Asiel, if that is something that isn't valid anymore? No, of course it's valid. It's an explanation of why things are the way they are. But is that the deepest truth? Is that the final truth? Is that all there is? Maybe not. Maybe there's more. Maybe it's a lie. Maybe it's controlled by something else. Maybe it never existed. Maybe it did exist, but it died. Maybe it still continues to exist. Find out at the event, because that's another really important thing. As we said, you find out the information at the event. You don't call up your buddy. You don't go like, "Hey Les, I didn't actually attend the con, or I was actually drunk most of the time. I didn't get any of the plot. Can you tell me the solution? How did it all play out? Give me all the details," and then I'll just hang up, because that's not what it's
rude.
About. Well, yeah, but I don't have an excuse. It's rude. Yeah, I'll call him back and I'll say sorry, but then I'll hang up again, because you don't call up the NSCs to try and figure out the secrets. That's what the game is for. You don't pick up a book and read the ending first and then start reading from the beginning and go around, tell all your buddies, like, you know how Game of Thrones ends? I read the ending. Fancy knowing the ending now? And no, that's not how it works. So we definitely don't want our secrets to be told outside of the game, because that will spoil a lot of people, as with books and movies. And
I mean, this doesn't mean that there isn't a truth. So basically, we for sure have an explanation how things are going in the background, but it's not for the players to find out in a way that we are telling them.
No.
So the players find their own ideas about how things can be explained with the background knowledge they have.
Yeah.
And with the different backgrounds they have as well. So one player might say, yeah, that was the mighty gods of my ancient ancestors that made this happen, which for him probably is a perfectly reasonable explanation to make sense of the situation. But it's probably not what really happened.
Yeah, and similar to that.
But to him it is.
Yeah, no, of course. And we want to encourage that. For instance, if at Sturmwacht people would have approached the Keimling, a strong being, an artifact of terror, which is the earthen force in Mythodea, if an elf came from the side and said, no, this is actually a seedling from the the great world tree, from where I come from, and I recognize it. It has that same power. Then you can have a fight about it. You can agree to disagree. But we, as the event designers, won't come up and say, no, this is a terror artifact. You have to believe that. You have to say that. No, you can definitely have your own opinion.
Yeah, exactly, and you're perfectly entitled to it, as long as you don't try to outgame imprint it on others.
Exactly. Of course, the strongest force within the Mythodea gameplay will definitely be the Mythodea lore, because why not, right? But we're just saying, we're definitely open to other gameplay approaches, and we definitely want to motivate it. We don't want to gatekeep.
Yeah, and exactly. And a user here in the chat is bringing a perfect example for this. It's Bierfuß, and Bierfuß says maybe Lester is Manuel Neuer. And to him that might be the truth. Yeah, we all know you have way too small feet for that.
I actually have large feet. But
I did not know this.
This is actually a great point. I always wanted to find a segment in the show to talk about my feet. I'm actually terrible.
That might be forbidden content on the.
But we will have the OnlyFans account launched soon, and you'll hear more about it there. What were we talking about?
How did we end up there? I don't know.
I don't know what we were talking about. I've lost the plot.
Okay. I lost the plot as well. One of the principles, the design principles we have in that whole thing was always like, and we felt that this might have been interpreted other ways before, that the world as it is always has to serve the game, and not the other way around. So the game is not there to serve the world, but the world is there to save the game, to serve the game, to provide the maximum possible ways to interact with the world for the players.
Yeah, that's also a good point. That makes a lot of sense. So that actually has two relevant points. We, as the plot team, will never write secret plot. Everything in the game will always be in some way interactable with for everyone. There won't be any secret background stuff that only happens at secret events or is only for certain people. Everyone pays the same price, so they should always have the same possibility to interact with certain parts of the plot. Yeah, sure, there are certain parts of the plot which will come later, but there won't be any plot gatekeeping in this way. Another thing about that is we don't write plot to serve us, so us as writers. So whoever writes, it's one of the highest principles here in this company, whoever writes plot can't be the main character. So Sturmwacht was a good example. I said it a few times, I'll say it again. I played a suicidal homosexual knight who was very weak, no god, and Ruth played a dyslexic writer who kept forgetting everything. Not the queen, nothing like that, and all our plot writing team will never be the main character in their own plot, because that just doesn't work. It's like as if Markus writes the book Markus and why he is the best person. First chapter. Hi, I'm Markus.
That would be a lie, actually.
Exactly, and it would just be a bit sad. So we don't write the plot to serve ourselves as writers in LA events. We write plot to serve the players and participants. So there will never be a plot where I'm the main character. It just makes no sense. It would be a bit sad.
And even if there would be like a overlapping thing where somebody would play like probably a powerful person within a plot, then it's a short-term thing, never a long-term thing.
Yeah.
And it's more like a filling in because we didn't find somebody else or something like that.
Yeah, and if, for instance, we have let's say we have a plot writer in one of the tribes. That's really cool. They help us write plot for the tribes, but that person wants to play a main character. Then they can play a main character, just not in the same plot that they're writing. They can be the main character in the Undead, or the main character in the Tross, or wherever. It's just, if you're the author of a plot, you probably shouldn't be the star. It's an easy guideline, really.
Yeah, and if you play at all in the plot, you are kind of a background role that is supporting a supporting act, you know, because you also can keep your distance in a way that was pretty impressive to observe. At Sturmwacht, Ruth was playing this servant, or how you call that?
She was like a servant.
Or a maiden, or whatever, a handmaiden, or something like that. And she was always around the noble people, the important people, and that way, because she was like around, she could always kind of direct them in a way when they needed some cues.
It wouldn't be disrupting. They could just walk up and say, "My prince, I must tell you something," and it would be okay. It wouldn't break the game flow. She could take care that the plot was, it was going somewhere. Also, with plot, we don't really need it to go in a specific direction. It just has to go somewhere most of the time. True. So that was a good role to support the plot.
Yeah, and sometimes things need a Kickstarter or something like that. So if you have the feeling this isn't going anywhere, you can give it a little nudge and point it into the right direction, or in any direction at all. Yeah.
We can talk more about that in a minute. We're getting wicked gang signals from the director that we're out of time.
Is that West Coast or East Coast? I didn't see it.
It's a break.
A break coast.
Oh, okay.
What an awesome joke. He's copying me. It's like bad jokeism next level, I would say.
You two working on the joke that kills, huh?
Yeah. All right. So we are about to go into a break. I think we really deserve this by now. We see you in 5 minutes, and then we will be back with some more talk with Lester and me, and with Hagen, most likely. See you in 5. Back again from this vast break. We really replenished our resources here, and yes, tea time. And I read an interesting thing in the chat here. There are some people lurking in the chat. Yeah, it's Juchi people lurking in the chat.
Oh.
I thought you find that informative.
It's always good to know about people out there lurking. It's a good thing. Yeah. I'm glad actually you started speaking in English, because I was just about to Deutschland. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So basically, we covered the unreliable narrator, who I found also to be very unrelatable. That's a different story.
I mean, there's other ways of using the unreliable narrator as well, which is kind of funny. There's a bunch of books, the Book of the New Sun, where halfway through the whole frickin' epos, you figure out that the narrator is actually slightly insane and a bit of an asshole, and he's been lying to you throughout the whole book. So you can pretty much just start reading the book again. From the beginning. Yeah. And why this is interesting is we will have bits like that, of course, as well in our plot, but they will always be very clearly, whenever we try to lie to the players, we'll be very obvious about it, because it's unfair to make this huge lie that's so impossible to figure out. No, we'll make it kind of obvious that.
Yeah, it's also this. Technically, it's not good LARP writing technique, because LARP is about make believe, and adding make believe on make believe on make believe makes it really hard for the players to.
We only have 4 days at LARP, so yeah.
It's the same reason why costuming yourself as something else is not a good idea.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. So it's kind of good to always, when you costume yourself, as Markus was saying, to make it quite clear that it's still the same character, just in costume. So I mean, it's not clever to have like a very special brooch still hanging out that definitely tells you to be, or identifies you as your true character, but otherwise it's impossible for players to figure out that you're actually just disguised, or a big fake beard that just looks totally terrible.
And it's one of those things where you first think it's a good idea to do that because it's really sneaky and adds something new, but then you find that most players are unable to interact with it because they don't know who am I talking to at the moment.
I think a good way to describe that is always, whenever you do something, you should ask yourself, okay, I'm having fun, but is everyone else going to have fun with what I'm doing?
Yeah.
So costuming really, really cleverly, so that no one finds out who you are. Okay, a lot of fun for you, maybe because you think you're Tyra Nightfire, you think you're the coolest assassin ever, but you're not going to generate any play because no one's going to catch you,
This is what Jens Scholz is saying here. He says, you want to be able to play with a lie, not being lied to.
It's
like, exactly.
Jens Scholz should be doing this, not me.
Yeah, we gotta have him around at one time.
Yeah.
Jens, if you're seeing this, you're needed here. Get ready. Yeah. Once Corona is over, we will drag you into the studio and make you talk to us. Yeah.
You're gonna get that knife out again?
It worked today, didn't it? Yeah. Okay. But so that was the point I was getting to. This unreliable narrator thing. Yeah. This is nothing we invented, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much everything that we use, we try to not erfinden das Rad neu. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. No. We try to use things that are out there, and the unreliable narrator is just pretty much the most popular narrator out there. I'm no proper I don't know, writer, so I don't necessarily know, but what came out when we were doing our research is that it's highly popular, used all throughout and explains a lot of the time how the world can work and how people believe that the world works. And so we decided, okay, this is popular, this works. It works for mythology, it works for great books and great stories, so why shouldn't we use it? So we decided to use that, and we do that with a lot of things. So especially when we try to tell people which kind of gameplay style will achieve good gameplay results. We didn't make up a new gameplay style. We picked very popular ones from the LARP scene. And if we talk about theater techniques or techniques how to enhance play, we didn't make up new ones. We took them from theater because they work there too. So we always try to use things that work and not try to reinvent everything.
Exactly. And so that is a staple in storytelling, you know, and since it's a proven way to make sense of the world from the different perspective of the players that also always will have different levels of information, and the world always needs to make sense to them, you know. So this is something we are using for this.
Yeah, and we'll see how that goes. It's already been interesting at Sturmwacht. It's also it helps when, for instance, you have really well briefed NSCs and playmakers, and sometimes they'll make an error. And if you've already picked the unreliable narrator as your guide through the story, then that's okay if someone makes an error, because, well, that suits the style of the story perfectly. So if someone makes an error, that's okay, that's fine. You can make an error. The players can also interact with the error. We can later try to solve the error by continuing the story in a different way, or we can decide to play with the error, and the player can decide how much he'll grill the NSC on the error. If it's something very important, you can grill the NSC a little bit more. But if it was simply just confusing 3 years and 6 years, 5 kilos and 10 kilos, you really have to ask yourself, is that so important for my gameplay? Is this really important for my 4 days of LARP? Is this the thing that's going to break my immersion? Am I going to grill this poor guy who's being played at by 100 people who makes one error? Am I going to grill him for the whole event? And if the answer is yes, okay. If the answer is no, I think the NSC would be very happy.
Yeah, and the underlying question of that is, will we be ever able to avoid any mistake or error to be made?
Of course, really easy. I've been working on the solution for the past 5 minutes. No, of course, we are always going to make errors, tons of them, and maybe that's okay, and maybe we'll learn from our errors. But our NSC's playmakers and even players will make errors, and that's because we're all just LARPers and we're having fun, and we can decide how much we will interact with those errors. Will the errors become play? Will they be so severe that they break immersion? Maybe you can just ignore them. These are all ways to deal with an error in game. But we definitely want to encourage people to interact with errors, play with them, make them part of the game, enjoy them, you know.
That is a fundamental design principle that we use. Is if we cannot avoid something, we need to build mechanisms so that it's not a problem. You know, so we need to build techniques and ways to approach things so that we, if we can't avoid it, then we need to live with it, and we need to find ways how to live with it. And this is one of the ways to do this.
We'll talk to Sina about how she handled some minor blunders and what kind of gameplay that generated later on. That's something that I think she can give us some insight on.
And this is like LARP is live, you know, this is live action role playing,
It's
and
like kind of
everything
what we're
that's
doing here.
and everything that's live, you know, what happened, and you need to make something with it. And the worst thing you can do is like, yeah, guys, forget what I said the last 2 minutes because that was obviously wrong, or I misspoke, or and try to retrospectively retcon or delete something that actually happened.
Yeah, that's not. You don't have to do that. Of course, if one guy says
And
six,
that will break immersion for sure. Certainly.
yeah, no, for sure, it'll get you out of the game. If you're really unsure, sometimes you know you can also, like, if the conversation's been going on for an hour about something, you can ask. You can, as the NSC, can actually say, you know, I did make an error. This is breaking the game a little bit. You know, let's forget about it. You know. But otherwise, of course, you can just continue playing with the error. There's 100 different play styles, 100 different ways to solve this. You can roll with the punches. You can take a moment and talk about it. That should be like the ultima ratio. You know, you should do that only if you really can't anymore. You know, I really need to know if the tree had green or red leaves. Okay, you have to decide. Otherwise, I can't sleep. Okay, fine. Then ask the question. But otherwise, you know, deal with it. It doesn't really matter that much, or it shouldn't matter that much. Enjoy the moment, you know, roll with the punches, carry on.
And Alyssa and Berenga here in the chat have, and they are totally right, I think, about this, say, oftentimes those errors make the most interesting gameplay.
Exactly. That's what I've been trying to say, but I'm not good at the word things. Thanks for our American buddies helping us out here, and I think Sina will also care to share some insights on exactly this topic.
And this is something we really want to cultivate, and we want to improve on that over the next years. We will constantly try to improve on that, is to be able to react as dynamically as we can to player ideas and incorporate them into what we think is the plot line, you know, and sort of roll with the punches there.
Yeah. So when we structure a plot for an event, and we've written all the different plot lines and all the different things, and we've had Freihand make all these beautiful props, and we have all these well-briefed NSCs and playmakers who know exactly in what sort of field they can play. And then all of a sudden, the plot hits players. And it turns out the plot isn't player tight. Players are just too creative. There's too many creative people on the field. They will find a way to play the plot differently than we wanted it, or we considered it could be played. And that's okay, because this is the player's adventure. It's not our adventure, the writers, it's the player's adventure. And if the players decide they want to do something else, then that has to be okay. Yes, there are certain things where we really would like that to happen. Like, for instance, we would like the players to go to the undead lands so that they fight the undead, because we make all those props and we cast all those characters, and we write all that plot that is specific to that place. So that's something that kind of has to happen, but how it happens and which creative solutions the players find, well, we'll definitely give you a trail of breadcrumbs, again, where to go or what to do, but how you do it and when you do it, that should definitely be your thing, your adventure, because, yeah, well, this is your adventure.
Yeah. And so basically this means mistakes or errors, yeah, are per se not a bad thing. We need to design a mechanism or a technique to deal with them, which is one of them is this unreliable narrator staple of storytelling. And the other thing is that this does not mean that we now try to do to be less fair about our preparation or about the world or about how we approach things. So it's not that we purposefully want to do mistakes or error, errors, but we rather find there it's not realistic that there will be no problems, no mistakes done. So if there are mistakes done, we rather have something that make them something we can live with.
Exactly, and it relates to what you said before. If you can't uphold something, then find a mechanism to support it anyway. And I've never been to a LARP where a player hasn't found a creative way to bypass a plot or change a plot significantly. I think Hagen also has some stories about that, and you just have to adapt. You have to live with these errors. I mean, the plot can't be player tight, and the background can't be set. If the background is set, you can't ever change anything, and it will definitely be gatekeeping other people from the outside, which is okay if you have a 200-man event, but if you're hosting the largest LARP event in Europe or the world, maybe the universe, then it's the wrong thing to gatekeep. We
Definitely a universe. I'm 100% sure of that.
Okay, we're actually going with that.
So a new marketing thing, you know?
All right. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah,
Didn't you get the memo?
I did. I thought it was a joke. All right. Enough of this tomfoolery. Fuck.
Can we beep that out?
No.
All right.
Okay. See, errors happen, and you just have to
say sorry to the audience.
I'm sorry for swearing. Can someone continue? It's making it worse.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Why are we talking about this that lengthy in this lengthy way? Why do you think? Why did you do it 2 weeks ago? Why are we talking for an hour already about this unreliable narrator thing where you have a subjective view? You're allowed to have a subjective view on the world.
This is sort of a question to sum up why we're doing this. It's generally, whenever we do these Mythodea Insiders, we try to explain how we design the game. We want the player base to get to know us. We want new players to get to know us, people who are interested in LARP, and sort of get a glimpse behind the scenes. And also then they will know, the players will know how to engage with certain elements. So if there's a breadcrumb trail, as we said, it will lead somewhere. It's not only to tease you. If we're going to lie to you, we're going to make it obvious. We're going to try to make it very obvious. And if we write a plot, for instance, the plot should always signal what's about to happen. So if you engage with a plot from the beginning, you think, oh, this is great. You're the warrior, you're engaging with this plot, and then on day 3, it turns out it's actually a plot about love. And you did not know this. The plot should always signal from the beginning on what's going on. This is another thing. So if it's a romantic plot, it will signal this from the beginning. If it's a fighting plot, it will signal this from the beginning. If it's a sad plot, if it's a sad dude approaching you crying and he's got a letter in his hand, well, this guy is signaling to you this is going to be an emotional plot. So we're always going to try to be very open about what we're offering. And when it comes to the story, the background story, well, we want to make it as consistent as you want it to be. So if you want it to be the Mythodea background, well, there will be evidence for it in the game. So yes, this is one truth, but at the same time, if you're from the outside, to try to combat gatekeeping, we'll also allow for other views on the story to be okay. And those are some of the points. What was the last one? Yes. Plot is always for everyone. So these are some of the important things we wanted to say here. And the last part that we talked about was how we want to try to make our stories player conform. So we allow them to also sort of, yeah, they can be creative. They don't have to play the plot as we intended. We don't write the plot that way.
Yeah.
And we just want to be a little bit more free and open to errors and play with errors. And why is it important that we talk about this so long? Well, maybe this is the same, maybe it's different, and we just want to have a place, and this place is SKALD TV, where we can present this and explain how we do things or intend to do things.
Yeah, and immersion is the most valuable good you have in LARP.
In game, yeah.
In game. And so if something like that, somebody tells you something about the world you understood different, breaks you out of immersion, that's obviously a bad thing. So we need to have a technique how to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. So you have someone from Mythodea who then says, no, this is not the world tree. This is the Keimling. It's a terror artifact. Well, this shouldn't break the game. This should just be another truth or just an opinion.
So this shouldn't lead you to an outgame discussion about whether this is actually...
No, this should lead to an in-game discussion, maybe in-game conflict. Yeah, that's what should happen. That's what we intend to happen. Did you see?
There's a question about can you give an example of when an error happened and how it improved play? It's not directly like this, but you told me that one story which I found awesome about. I think it was at another major German LARP event where they had a field surrounding a castle that basically made people crazy. And players found a very creative solution to it. Probably you can tell that story because I really love that story.
That was a funny story. It happened to Sandro Dalla Corte, the undead VB. He went to ZDL, Time of Legends from Viven, and they had a field of fear in front of the fortress, and they wanted to get into the fortress, and the organization said, no, not now. You can't do it now. And they just got so creative that they managed to get rid of the field of fear by putting an anchor into the floor and then having 20 people do magic around it, and then they sort of connected a person to the anchor and kept spearing him into the field of fear until there was no more fear, because it all went into this poor dude who was forced to stay in the field of fear. And then they got rid of it and they sort of got to the plot, despite the organizers not wanting it at this point. And we have to try to see this as a lesson, and we have to try to figure out a plot that will work around a player solution like that. But it was a great creative solution. Fantastic.
Or probably reward if it's such a great idea and it's really, really well played. You know, probably rewarded with some kind of success. You know, instead of saying, "Yeah, this didn't work."
Actually, I need to tell one other story before we go into the break, because this was hilarious and it led to so much plot. This was at another Wyvern event. A buddy of mine had 2 bronze coconuts in his camp, and he does Monty Python LARP. It's more funny. So this is a bit of a funny story. So he had these 2 bronze coconuts, and he said these are the hairy eggs of the copper dragon, and it was just a joke. Then someone from the green camp stole one of them and said, I have one of the hairy eggs of the copper dragon, but there is a second one. And all of a sudden, this huge fucking plot developed around these 2 coconuts.
You did it again. You did it again.
This whole huge plot developed around these coconuts.
Say sorry to the audience again.
Sorry.
Okay.
This whole plot developed around these 2 bronze sprayed coconuts that wasn't intended by anyone, and it led to war. And I can't think of anything that is so hilarious but so plot driving as an error such as that. That was an error that led to plot. Yeah. Yeah,
and war is what you want, isn't it? I mean,
man, that was hilarious. But anyway, there are many examples like this. But we should be going into a break. Markus?
Yeah, Tom is threatening us again. shaking his fist and mumbling evil words under his breath.
Dark American incantations.
Yeah, we have to go into a break. Thank you for being with us for the last hour. We will switch it up a little after the break. Hagen will be here. He will be telling us more about how he's an author. Actually, he writes books and how he is creating his storylines and what techniques he's using in that. And we are really looking forward to this. See you after the break. Bye bye. Here we are back again. Before we get right back into it, two things, two disclaimers about the stream. One is if you have an Amazon Prime account, you can, I don't know if you know that, you can link that to your Twitch account, and then your Twitch account is Twitch Prime. And if you have a Twitch Prime account, then you can give us a free subscription once a month. And for us, this helps us a little. We get money from it from Twitch, and it costs you nothing. And it helps us also with the statistics. So please feel free. If you feel so inclined, we thank you very much. Second thing is, if you have an idea what we should present in the stream, or if you want to present your character or your group or your orga or your convention idea or any other concept you would like to talk about, give us a mail at tv@skald.com, and our lovely and awesome booker Eva will contact you and will make an appointment, and we will find some room for you here on the stream. Please feel free to do so. Everything is welcome here. So that's it. We get back into it. Lester and me, Markus, and with us right now is Hagen. Hagen, who are you? And why did we invite you to the stream?
Thanks for the invitation, and that's a good question. I asked myself, why did you invite myself? I have an inkling that you want to talk about books and stories and plots. And since I'm a writer, well, sometimes I'm a writer, you might ask me that. But, well, you better answer the question, Markus. Why did you invite me?
Yeah, you answered the question. You're a writer, and you even wrote a book, like a novel, which plays in Mythodea, isn't it?
True. Not only one. We have 3 books out now. This is the latest, Herren der Tiefe, Lords of the Deep, which is not written only by me, which has 3 authors. One is Matthias Ramke, and the other is the wonderful Jane Steinbrecher, who is known as the Naomi of Roses and the Realm of Roses too. So different people writing this book, but one of the stories is from me. And yeah, there are 3 all in all. And it is, I think, especially in a year like this, with Corona keeping us from our favorite hobby and many other things, it's great to have a piece of Mythodea to take with you on the sofa and just relax and read about it and dream yourself away. So at least that's what I like about reading fantastic novels. So yeah, that's the idea.
I mean, we definitely agree with that, because we also had you on Conquest, on the Conquest Facebook page, writing a story for exactly that reason. You know, we're lacking our favorite hobby, so why not find some ways to dive into the world? And yeah, maybe we talk more about your books then. One question that we asked last time was, do you have to be highly knowledgeable about the Mythospheran world to read the books, or are these books a good way to get to know Mythodea? How would you describe them?
It's a bit of both, really. The idea was to have a story that works as an entry into the world and that gives you an insight. But they will also have elements that are more inclined towards the more knowledgeable or more experienced players on the continent. So if you are completely new to Mythodea, you will understand the story. I think that's at least how we planned it. But if you have been playing in Mythodea for a long time, then you will discover things that someone who's not so well versed in the story will not discover. So there are different layers. At least that was the idea. If we manage to do that, the audience must decide. I cannot say that, but that was the goal. Yeah, to allow people to actually get an insight into the story a bit. You know, they
That's
all play. Sorry, you want to say?
no, sorry, sorry.
I just wanted to add that the stories are playing in the past. So there are events that actually happened in the Mythodea history, so to speak. And we put an emphasis on the side stories. Yeah, so while the World Forge, the last seal is breaking and the World Forge is opening, there's happening something somewhere else, and that's what the story is about. So it gives more depth to the continent in a way.
Yeah, okay, that's really cool. It also it gives more character to the supporting roles. And what I liked when we talked about your books was especially the thing that it caters to newcomers, but also to long time players. And we hope to do our events in a similar fashion, tell the story in a similar fashion, open to new players, but also have the rabbit hole of deep lore and deep plot for people who want to engage with it.
See,
That's
I mean that is nice storytelling. If you get to drop hints and little things that people can read about, and if you know the deep lore, then you will say, ah, okay, I got this. And for other people, it's just a normal accident or something happening normally. So both will be able to read it and participate in the story of the plot, but on different levels, and that's absolutely okay, I guess. But yeah, hope that we can do that.
yeah, okay. No, that's cool. Do you have some questions? Otherwise, I have some more. I mean, I don't want to always talk over you.
Yeah.
Marcus, say something.
What do we see in the background there? We want to give him. You can advertise. like
This is Black Knight Publishing House headquarters, so to speak.
yeah.
I'm uh, it's a very small publishing house, but we have some children's book that people might know. My Dad is an Orc is our most favorite and actually bestseller in the publishing house, and of course the Mythodea novels are there too, and other things. So yeah, and I have some new ideas for 2021 too. So let's see where we are going with the new fantastic ideas and new fantasy novels.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's great branding. I like the name. I actually really want to get that book now. My Dad is an Orc. That sounds awesome. My one wish, of course, is with all these new ideas and all these authors working on such great projects, you'll still have some time for Mythodea to write us some stories because we do enjoy them.
Yeah, indeed, we do.
Actually, it's this year is as we cannot go on LARPs as often, or some of us didn't go at all. I was lucky; I had I think 2 or 3 events, like with Sturmwacht. I was at Sturmwacht, and then I had 1 or 2 others. But with so many LARPs that had to be cancelled, and us not being able to meet friends and everything, I think writing stories and interacting on a forum or on Facebook and wherever, social media in general, is a great way. And if somebody reads the story and is actually feels like, well, I can answer that, or I can find different angle to that story that he wrote, well, then go on. I mean, that is cool to have that stuff as a as a mean to get over this difficult times, and then next year hopefully we can meet up again in real life and tell us these stories at a fireplace and at night with a drink.
That sounds perfect. And if anybody wants to write an in-time story, as Hagen did as well for us, in a slightly shorter form as well than the book, just write a mail to regie@mythodea.de, and we'll supply you with some cool plot teasers, and you can express yourself, your character, your world with the community. People can interact with it, and yeah, it's a beautiful thought. I can't put it in as good words as Hagen, but I definitely tried. Maybe we can talk a little bit about how you write stories. We talked a little bit about how our breadcrumbs lead places, or how we talk about deception and lies in our world, or how different views can also be alternate truths or just opinions on how the world works. How do you as an author construct your stories?
I think that a story can be, or a plot line can be simple if the story is well told. So I think the main plot line can be rather straightforward, but I need to have interesting characters in the book that captivate the audience, and that makes them feel the struggle, the strive, the love, the hate, whatever is in the character in the book. If you get to do that, and if the author actually achieves that, then the story can be rather simple, rather straightforward. That's completely okay. You will still be catching the audience and captivating the audience with your book, I think. And to me, the same holds true for a LARP story. If you have emotions, if you have people interacting, and as you said before, well-briefed NPCs who help you understand the story or what the plot is actually about, then you can have a very, I'm not saying simple, but a very straightforward plot, and that will, give you a great experience because you experience it through the emotions. So that is something that I would like to try as an author. If I achieve that, the audience has to say. I cannot say if my stories do that, but that
You're
would
so
be something that I
modest.
would like to.
It's crazy. You're very
You were saying?
modest. You're very modest. I was saying you always play yourself down. It's
But it's
I like
awesome.
my stories, otherwise I wouldn't write them. But
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
yeah. No,
I'm not the person who buys them, so
Yeah.
Yeah, no, fair enough. But I definitely think, from what I've read, you definitely managed to do this. But this is an interesting thing. I would say to you, the story comes second, but on first place you have these layered characters and who make you, the reader, feel things.
It's something I realized about myself, reading a lot over the years. It's like that. Before you had like preferred genres, so you would go for the fantasy novels or science fiction novels and stuff like that. But the older you get, you realize the genre is actually not that important. It can be even a rom-com. If you click with the characters, you find the book enjoyable. If there is something special about them, if they work. Yeah, you will read the book and enjoy it very much. And if they don't, the genre is not that important. It's like the best fantasy novel. If you don't click with the characters, doesn't work. Although it might be your preferred genre. Yeah, so I find it very interesting.
There are actually two more things, because you can have a simple story. Obviously, you can have twists also that make the story and the plot line more complex. But what I like to do is to make this challenging to the reader, and obviously in LARP then to the players, but not frustrating. I think it must be a middle way. I like to challenge my reader, but if the reader feels like, what the fuck, why did he say that? And that is out of character for this person to do this and that. Then the twist doesn't work. So I think, and then again, what Marcus, what you just said, it's about the character. That's true. It must be it must be a twist that works for the character and that you can believe in. Oh, that is actually credible. That person would do that. Yes, then you can
Yeah.
work with it. So that's what I personally like about twists when you make a story or a plot line more complex. And the last thing is happy ends, because we're not White Knight Publishing House, we are Black Knight Publishing House. So happy ends is not really what you get with us. I'm not saying everybody dies, but sometimes people die, and the same the same holds true for LARP. I mean, we had in the Realm of Roses, we had Carl Weber die 2 years back, and that was so bloody emotional, and it was so. I mean, I know a lot of people cried. I think I shed a tear myself, and that's a great way for a story to develop, even if it means that you're not winning, but you have an emotional situation. So
I mean,
people.
it makes sense as well because all the great stories they have these highs and lows. Sometimes we talk about this playing to struggle. No one has to do it, but you can do it, and it can be a great moment to lose. Like when Yoda dies or Obi-Wan dies in Star Wars, you feel the emotion. But if Luke kept winning, it would have been a bit monotonous. So all the cool stories out there that we enjoy in pop culture, Game of Thrones as well as you mentioned earlier at some point. Uh, Tons of characters die, and I think that's a cool way of going about things. If you don't have the highs and lows in books, you might get bored.
And basically, if you look at Sturmwacht, we kind of tried to do that, or we did that by having a storyline that was pretty straightforward, but at the same time, we had that patchwork of NPC characters that all had their backstory and all had different angles you could work with them, and different emotional leverage points and stuff like that. So basically there was a lot of characters to explore and a lot of secrets to find out, which actually had nothing to do with the plot. It's more getting engaged with real people, or at least people that feel real to you in game.
Yeah, I mean, to just clink into that, sometimes plot doesn't have a reward. Sometimes plot is just the story itself and the emotion behind it, and maybe helping someone. The answer or the reward may not be money. It may just be emotional play. Seeing someone that you've engaged with die at the end. Uh, Something like that happened at Sturmwacht. Axel Goldamer from the Eastern Seal, he gave Jana Jeschke's Ateron NPC her final dance, or her first dance in years, and it was a beautiful moment. He actually won a player ticket for that moment, and right after that she died. And you can have this. I mean, how sad is that? And it's just a great emotional moment, and would never have been achieved if the story hadn't been written in that way, having an engaging character.
When I was much younger, 50 years ago or something, my parents asked me, so oh, you did your role playing thing again. So who won? And I could usually say, well, no one won, because it's not about winning. This is not
Yes.
about winning. This is about obviously it is cool when you can win a fight, or when you struggle and you achieve something, but it is not about winning. It's about doing something together and experience, and about emotions, as you said, Les. So that's it to me, and that's the same about books. I mean, about a story in a book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that we agree on a lot of things, and I definitely took some. I didn't actually write down anything, but I did take some pointers and notes from the time when we did this in German. Yeah, it's definitely interesting talking with an actual writer about this kind of thing.
Yeah, and for sure there are different aspects to LARPing. So there's also a sporting aspect to it with the fighting and everything. But this role-playing aspect and drama aspect you have, I would totally agree. The only way to win it is trying to lose it. By always trying to give the other person what they like, lifting the other player, and hoping that he lifts you back, and delivers you the scene and the engagement you need for your character to get engaged in the scene, and thereby getting this emotional response to immersion. So when immersion happens, you get emotions that your brain cannot distinguish. It cannot distinguish between a simulated experience and the real experience anymore. Almost like if you really read a book and you lose yourself, and suddenly the book is finished and you didn't even realize that you read the whole night. We all had that experience, hopefully.
Yeah.
At one point.
Or you have someone come into the room and you're just so captivated by the book, you just keep reading and reading, and the person might speak to you, but you don't even notice because you're in this world.
You're in. Yeah.
And those moments at LARP, that's I mean, sometimes you get these moments, and that's great. That's why I love the hobby so much.
Yeah.
You actually said something really interesting that really clicked with me. When you said you're trying to challenge your reader, what you didn't say, and my question is, if I understood this correctly, when you challenge your reader by spreading little plot points around so that they can find out the big, wow moment towards the end, you don't try to surprise them completely. You don't try to make your reader feel dumb. That's what it felt like. It feels like you're actively challenging the reader, but you're not making fun of him. You're giving him the chance to actually see the plot twist coming. And I thought that really clicked with me. I like that.
Well, the thing is, I want, if I write something and I put my heart blood into it, my soul and everything, give it my time, I want it to be read. And as soon as I make the reader feel dumb, he or she will stop reading it. Why would he go on? I mean, so I think it is a double challenge. It's a challenge to the reader to follow the story and maybe see the hints that I place. It's also a challenge to me because I want to make it interesting and challenging, but not frustrating. And you have to find a middle ground to where you can move. So what I said before, I want to keep it credible too. I don't want to. In the end, if you have a plot twist that comes out of nowhere, like Deus Ex Machina, suddenly something appears and all is solved. That's bullshit. Nobody wants that. I want to, when I have the end, I want to go back to page 15 and say, damn it, that's where it put. Like with Game of Thrones, when we had Hodor, the whole time we had Hodor, and everybody was like, okay, he's a bit dumb, he's one of these dumb giants. So, okay, he says Hodor, it's his word. So what if? And later on, you find out, whoa, that means something. And, this epic scene, that's great storytelling. I love that.
I don't know. You just put it in a certain way that just clicked with me. Sometimes things to be a fact, but then you hear them said in a certain way, and all of a sudden it just goes like,
That's poetry.
It's like you also don't want that, like you have the feeling as a reader, the author painted himself into a corner and then he lazily sneaks out of it, and you feel betrayed. You have that sense of betrayal. You invested so much time in this book, and then this is happening. So basically, I totally agree. So it needs to make sense over the time.
I have one final question because we've just been signaled that we're out of time. You told us last time. Well, how did your reading go? Because last time you told us you were gonna have a reading. Can you tell us something about it?
We had the Dreieich-Con online this year, of course. It's one of the most established fantasy literature cons. It's not only fantasy literature, it's also pen and paper role playing and some LARP, not much, but So it's a get together of everybody, and it was quite interesting. It was digital this year,
Sorry,
obviously, online.
Dreieich-Con is right around the corner here from Frankfurt. It's organized for decades now by my good friend Christian Deana. Hey Christian, shout out to Christian. Yeah, sorry, I had to do that.
Christian invited me too. That's how I got into there. And we had a panel where we talked about fantasy literature and about Corona, obviously, and that. And we had a reading, and that was cool. We did Glutbringer, the second Mythodea novel. And I recorded the reading, so I will put that on the internet for everybody who missed the Dreieich-Con.
Nice.
Soon.
Nice. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again for being here and representing the writers out there, teaching us the one or the other thing about it, and yeah, we'll have Sina on next. Yeah, of course. Always again, and yeah.
So Hagen, thank you very much for being here tonight. Was great input. Also hearing somebody that is clearly a professional writer, giving us his angle on things. You know, thank you so much. And after the break, we will go in a short break now. After the break, we will come back with Sina, and we will talk about. Because she is a long-term, really experienced Mythodea game master and was part of the plot team and everything. So how did mistakes occur in the past, and how were her experiences in dealing with it, and how do you get out of a hole if you dug yourself into one?
You seem to be in a hole that you've just dug yourself.
Yeah.
Just saying.
So thank you, Hagen. Yeah.
Thank you.
And guys, see you after the break. Bye bye.
Yeah, see ya.
Hello again. Da sind wir wieder. Here we are again. Sorry. Lester and me, Markus, and now our very dear and special guest, Sina, with us tonight. And there's an interesting story about this. We heard about the tragic death of Karl Weber before. And since that was so tragic, we invited his killer into the stream tonight. Tell us the story.
Why would you do such a thing?
Sina, just a second. The chat says they can't hear you.
Uh-oh.
It's bad.
Okay, let's give it again. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sina,
you have to start again,
real
Sina.
quick?
The
Let's
chat
just check
didn't
real quick.
hear your words.
Okay. Sina, could I get a check 1, 2 from you real quick?
1, 2.
Okay, and we'll see if the chat can hear. Let's see.
Yeah, chat says there. Okay,
Okay.
here you
Now
are.
it works.
Sorry.
You may want to start from the top then.
Okay, so thanks for bearing with us through the technical problems, and great that you can now hear me. So maybe I just start again. Yeah, it's always nice to be introduced as the killer of someone. But I did a lot of things at the Conquest over like the 16 years I'm now with the whole team and the event. And 2 years ago, I was one of the main villains at the Conquest, Sheikh Sunaret, the evil character that was supposed to kill the beloved Archon Karl Weber. And obviously, we talked about this would happen before, but most of the people that were close to Karl didn't know that he actually said his role should get an epic death. And so it was very emotional for a lot of people, and we had like a really cool fight with like some stunts we actually made up beforehand, and there was a lot of crying, and a lot of people like were really in the scene and really emotional, like exactly what Hagen just described, when you are part of a good story and you're actually immersed in the whole scene. So I thought that was actually a really good example from both sides. And on the other hand, it's also a good example of what Lester said we are going to talk about today, that you can never plan anything or everything, right? Because obviously Carl and I knew that at one point in time we would meet like on the battlefield, but we didn't really know when that would happen. And we kind of knew what we wanted to do, like, bitching at each other and being like super mean and evil and la la la. But obviously you never know if somebody else jumps in or, what's going to happen. So even if the scene was kind of clear, like what should happen, obviously we had to react to everything that just came up. And that, I think that's also one of the beautiful sides of roleplay or of LARP, that you can't plan everything, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, it's live. Yeah, that's the part of it. It's live action role playing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a question, but before I ask it, I'll say a few things beforehand. So when we write plot, we write it for specific archetypes like fighters and whatnot. So we'll have guild plots, we'll have all sorts of plots, and all these plots, they together, they usually feed into the main plot. The main plot usually has crazy, scary, huge NPCs like Shakes und Naret, but a lot of times, seeing as they're core to the plot, and they're so powerful and so strong and played by such great people like Sina, a lot of people are afraid to interact with them. And what we sort of want to do more when we use characters like Shakes und Naret, we want these characters to interact more with the players, because the players will be too scared oftentimes to interact. And maybe you can tell us some stories how players reacted when you interacted with them as Shakes und Naret. Like that's like talking to the president, that's
the really scary president.
A really scary president, not the orange kind, but you know what I'm saying.
It's also scary.
Yeah, I have to say she was more intelligent than some presidents we have now at times. But so how was it? I guess for most people, it's kind of a real step to approach like the big figures that you only see like from far away or whatever on the field. Therefore, it was always how can I say that? Like I really had to work to actually interact with people, because like most of the times you just scare them away, right? They just run away when you try to come and do something with them. So in the last year, and in the year when the role actually died, or the figure actually died, there was a little twist in the plot that you could hurt her with different kind of weapons. And so in the beginning, you could hurt her with all kind of weapons, and when you killed her with a specific type of weapon, for example a metal weapons couldn't hurt her anymore. And like in the end we had some very funny and also I think for the players really cool scenes, because they were trying to kill me with wooden shields, for example, because metal weapons couldn't kill me anymore. And then they kind of, piled up around me with this wooden shields and were kind of hitting on my head with the shields and everything. And that was a really close interaction, obviously. And after a while, that didn't work as well anymore. And then didn't know what to do, because I was kind of, I was really like this in the circle, and like I don't know, 50, 60, 80 people around me were like yelling and trying to hit me, or they actually hit me, but you know, it didn't really do anything. And then from like the third row, there was a little, I think it was a woman, I can't really remember because I really didn't see her, but I heard somebody yelling, "Sleep!" And you know, I was hit by, I don't know, I think rice. And nobody ever tried to attack me with magic before. I just fell down, sleeping, and everybody was like, "How did that happen? Oh my god!" And then they tried to move me, and then obviously I woke up, and that was a really cool scene. And actually, the player I played with in the afterwards came to me and was like, "Oh my god, this was so cool," because I was lying on the floor and he was, you know, trying to, I don't know, put ropes around my hands or whatever, and I just took him by the wrist, you know, like here, and you know, started kind of swearing at him and really was like, "You'll never get children, la la la, you know, the earth is gonna, you know, rot your soul." And I was kind of crawling on top of him, you know, and it was like, he had eyes like super big, and it was just really cool and just in the scene, you know, and out of, you know, what came out of the whole situation. And yeah, and it was a win-win situation for everyone, right? Because the players had a cool scene, there was like really close interaction, they learned a lot, because obviously I dropped, you know, information as well, you know, and kind of told them why this worked now, because I mean, we are playing against them, but in the end we want everybody to have a, you know, to have a cool event, and in the best case to understand the plot and understand what they are doing and what they need to do. And yeah, so that was, for example, a really nice scene. And last year the characters, like we had more evil characters people could actually interact with, and on the Sturmwacht yeah, there was even more. And I think that's one of the key points to get people closer to the story, and also to get more story across, that people can actually interact with villains as well, and they are not only the fighters on the big field.
Yeah, that's exactly what we want to do. We've said it a bunch of times, we want to promote our evil characters even more. We want to give a face to evil, something to hate, something that feels three-dimensional. So you can not only interact with, you know, the high characters like Sinas, Shix and Naret, but also with, you know, the lowly footmen. They all have a story to tell. That's what we are going to try to implement more and more throughout the events. But we also want to have more interactions like Sinas, where, you know, you have a guy come up to you later on and say, that was so amazing. I was just grabbed by the biggest villain of the world, and I had my personal scene. So when we have these really powerful NPCs, sometimes it can be scary to approach them. So when we use NPCs like this, we want these NPCs to actively approach the players so that they can have more moments like the one Sina just described, because there's literally nothing better than interacting with, like, well, you know, a star or a god, you know, because when you're in the immersion, you really feel it. That guy with his open eyes, when you were shouting at him that his soul would rot, I believe he actually felt that in that moment, you know. I mean, and
you look scared, at least.
Yeah. And that's just an unforgettable experience. So why not try to create more experiences? So that's where we're going to try to design these characters more into that direction, so we have more scenes like that. Yeah. Thanks. That's those are great stories. Fantastic.
Yeah, and it's like this moment where you always try to be the extra in the movie of somebody else, but you are at the same time the star in your own movie, you know, because the other person is doing the same for you. You know?
Yeah.
And that is this moment we are going for, and we are designing for specifically in our labs. But we also wanted to talk about what happens if things go wrong, you know.
So if someone makes an error, you know, you got briefed, but you just forgot that one detail, and but 100 people are asking you, poor NSC, now tell us the truth. What is happening? And you're just like, yeah. has that ever happened to you? And did that lead to play? Did it break the play? What happened? Sina, do you have stories?
Yeah. Obviously, since I'm perfect, that never happens. No, that happens all the time. You know, I mean, and I think that happens on all different levels. You know, that happens on I don't know, the game master that can't remember something and then just gives the wrong information maybe, or I don't know, a player that is using a different ingredients than the one that was initially planned in the plot book or whatever, and if it works, then it works, and that's fine, and that's how the story evolves. And on the other hand, obviously that happens with every NPC as well. I can't really remember like one specific scene, but know that like people start interacting, you have to give them an answer. Like, I mean, it depends on the role that you're playing, but if you're like, for example, Sheikh Sunaret was the creator of the Kelriota, the mirror world, or what is it called in English? Something like that.
Yeah.
And if somebody asks me something, obviously I have to have an answer, maybe I can, be a little bit too cool to answer or whatever, but in the end, I will answer. And that's also one of the reasons why bigger roles are played by people that have a little bit more experience, maybe as well, to be able to come up with something that works in the situation. And also on the other hand, I had scenes where I didn't say the right thing. Like, I got briefed before and they said, okay, this is going to be the scene, you go out and this is the information you have to drop. And then, obviously we are humans as well. So there's a lot of adrenaline and, you don't want to do something wrong. And then you get back in and you're like, fuck, this one super important information I was supposed to drop, I didn't. So what am I going to do now, right? And then you always find a way, either I would try to, just pull out one or two people, or just send someone from my army and just pull one or two people and then, create another scene and drop the information. Or if something is wrong, either it creates a new game for the people, because there will some people will be out there that know that, I don't know, metal X is blue, and the others now know that metal X is green. Then just let them interact with each other, and when they find metal X, they will know which color is the right color, right? And I think that's something that happens all the time anyways, because even the scholars or magicians or whatever, they think they know the truth. In the end, they never know if it really is the truth. And in the end, there is no real truth, because, everything can change anyways, even if last year this was the truth, maybe something changed in the world, a new tribe approached, or, whatever happens, or people just found something. I mean, that's something that happens in the real world as well, right? People just, dig out something, and now they know, okay, I don't know.
I mean, digging out something.
Civilization is older.
Exactly. I mean, there's that keeps happening with cultures like Egypt. New stuff surfaces, and all of a sudden, history as we know it changes. So yeah, that's a way to approach errors. But the reason why you can sometimes make errors, despite playing LARP for so long and being briefed really well. This isn't theater. It's not a movie. So you're not reciting lines, and you're definitely not getting the same input from the players, because they don't have lines. They will react, with improvisation. So it's a really, really hard task to bring these messages across. And if an error happens, well, usually it's okay, because the augur can try to drop the information again, if the wrong information was dropped, they could try to drop it again properly, or if it wasn't dropped, they can, as you said, just create another scene with some other people. There are many ways to handle these errors, and I think it's just important to remember they're not game breakers, and they shouldn't be. And if you ever see an error that's really, really dire, like something that could theoretically break the game for you, you can choose to ignore it. You can just roll with the punches and continue. You have to try to go with it.
Yeah, and since obviously mistakes and errors cannot be avoided, they will happen. We need to make sure that we put mechanisms in place so that they don't hurt the thing we want to achieve, which is maximum immersion. So basically the worst thing would be going like, stop, cut. We need to this was the wrong thing that character said. Yeah.
1,000 people back to places.
And obviously you can't do that in LARP, because it would break LARP.
Yeah. Actually, sorry.
In the end, I think also, like, sometimes the players do cooler things than what you actually thought they would do. Like, a lot of times, we had like very detailed descriptions of what was supposed to happen, what they need to do, step 1, step 2, step whatever, with this and that, and in the end they came up with a much more creative way of solving the problem, with far more people than we initially thought. And obviously you say like, wow, this is cool, then they get there whatever it was they wanted to achieve, and you don't look back into your plot book and say, oh no, but point 3 wasn't done properly, now the whole thing doesn't work, So you always work with what happens and what the players come up with.
Actually, I have a funny story along the lines of that. I was standing in this dark tavern, and this guy with multiple facial tattoos was saying to me, listen to me, I want you to go into this and that camp. There will be a table, and on that table there will be gemstones, and I need you to infiltrate. And then all of a sudden this guy standing next to me, he just like tips out his bag. He says, you mean these? And it's like 2 days plot, just solved while the plot was being explained. And what do you do then? Do you say, all right, show's over, dudes, go home?
No, you were not supposed to take them, bring them back.
No, you just have to continue on, and you have to say, all right, okay, this was creative, let's reward this, let's see where this goes. How did that happen, and how can we create new problems from this? And problems did happen after that. A lot of shit went down.
You sound traumatized.
Yeah, in the best kind of way. I have another question for you though, Sina, and it doesn't necessarily revolve around plot. You just told us how much pressure it can sometimes be to play such a high role, but maybe you can talk to the people out there who may be interested in playing such a character, maybe take their fear away, because we definitely want new people to play high roles. It shouldn't always be you, Sina, not always. Sometimes it has to be other people. Tell us about it. Tell us some more about that experience, and take the fear away.
Maybe I can also tell you how I got into that high role. I mean, I don't want to even frame it. Thing was that I just tried on the costume and it fit. I was actually working.
Cinderella story.
I was actually working in the logistics of the conquest, right, for years, and I haven't even been like actively playing myself. I mean, I started live action roleplay in 1993, so obviously I had some years of experience, but I just wanted to try on that armor because I was sure that it wouldn't fit me, and then I tried it on and actually fit me, and we knew that we needed a new person to play that role, also because it was from the background story, it was supposed to have like different bodies and look different and whatever, and we tried to find someone else to fit into that costume for like 3 or 4 months, because we had the rule that people who already have like a position shouldn't, change. And we try to get new people, especially into the NPC roles. Yeah, but we couldn't find anyone, and that's how I got into that role. And when I first played Shakespeare in Red, I didn't play actively, didn't role play for I think 8 years or something. I just organized during that time. So and that was kind of the situation when there was a lot of adrenaline involved, like getting out there in front of the big armies and whatever. And I think what is really great in the community, and I guess most people experience that already on the side of the players, that people are super helpful. And the NPCs, like, they are like a big community, even I don't know if even more than the players, but they all, they help each other. If you're new, there are a lot of more experienced people that explain everything to you. They, I don't know, even help you build your costume, or I don't know, they pass stuff around. You need a weapon. Oh wow, yeah, okay, I got 2, take mine. So it's a lot of it's a really real community, and everybody's helping each other, so that does help. And then obviously with people who are playing roles that actually have like scenes, so there's I don't know, there's a specific information that needs to be dropped. You always get briefed before, so it's not like 3 days ago somebody told you in 2 days you need to be there and say something.
Something happened.
Yeah, I think I dropped out. I don't know. Do you
now
still
you're
hear
back.
me?
I
Then
can
I
hear you
keep
again.
talking.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Something in the background is smoking and seems to be on fire.
I think it's Tom's hat.
I just can't see you anymore, but I can just keep talking. Oh, no, I see you again. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay,
Oh
fine.
my god.
Maybe I
this
talked too long.
technology.
I guess that was the hint not to talk too much. Okay,
Oh no.
I think we heard panic in Tom's voice. We never hear that. Something must be wrong.
I'm okay back here. I swear.
It's either technical
Oh,
issues or
fine.
spiders.
It's fine. Yeah,
Sina,
basically, funny backstory to that. Tobai, which is one of the employees of Life Adventure and responsible for team management and orga stuff, like organizational stuff, was plotting a scheme behind the scenes to influence the plot team to have Sina die because he wanted her back in the orga team.
oh my god, this is
Yeah.
this is metagaming,
This is metagaming.
But Sina, what would you say? Did you enjoy it, or did you just do it for the community? What would you tell the people out there?
No, I mean, it's great, and obviously it's fun, and I mean, you don't have to start like being the main villain, right? So there are a lot of different roles obviously people can play, and people can just, I guess they can apply, right, to play different roles. At least that's how it worked before. And then for example, at Sturmwacht we also kind of developed the NPC character together, so that's like with the team. So that's another good thing, because then it's not like somebody just gives you something and you have to do it and maybe you can't relate to it, but ideally you would play an NPC that you can relate to, and really because you can relate to it out a little bit better, because okay, now this person would be intimidated, or now this person would be like aggressive or whatever, which I think is really great, and also makes it easier to impersonate the role. So yeah, just we always need good people in the team, obviously, and we always need great NPCs. And since now the NPCs and the game masters are kind of merged a little bit more, which I think is really great. It's good.
as you said, through more briefing, we give more legroom to NPCs and playmakers, who are of course supported by a cast of SLs, game masters. If you're interested in playing a cast character at one of our events, closer to the time of events actually happening, currently we have the Rona, so we can't host events, but once that is possible again, you'll see open calls to action to join as an NPC. We will have, of course, higher roles, and anyone can have the chance to play such a role, and we'll get specific briefings. We'll help them out. There will be workshops, but also, if you want to have a similar experience, you can play a footman, and we'll also give you the tools to develop a very, very deep character, even as an NPC footman. You don't necessarily have to be the high leader to have the same NPC experience that you had. We try to open that door up to all NPCs. But yeah, that's great. I mean, we weren't going to talk about this. We were going to talk about how we design plot, but it was just too perfect having you on to not talk about cast characters with you.
Yeah. So time flies. Our time is over again. We get the stink eye from the director's booth. Thank you very much, Sina. That was fantastic. We had a great evening tonight with Hagen, with Lester, with Sina. Thank you very much. And
Thanks for having me.
we will be back on air on Sunday with Lester, and
we'll actually have a bunch of people on Sunday.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just quickly plug the show.
yes.
So Sunday, it's an English stream about crafting with Thomas. We will also have Nicholas, my co-host, join via Zoom due to Corona. And we'll also have guests Leona and Nuke, who will talk about the do-it-yourself Freihand shields and some of their projects and their own crafting stream. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a great outlook. Thanks for watching tonight. We had a great evening. Thank you, Sina. And bye-bye.
See you guys. Thanks,
See
Sina.
you.